Every business has some form of capacity constraints. So in a manufacturing plant, that might be machinery. In a distribution business, that might be the way they deliver freight or trucks. In a service business, that might be capacity of people. What we found is that this is a lot of insight that companies probably know intuitively, but when they actually do the math with our help, the importance of that capacity constraint is much more significant than they expected. And therefore, the strategy of how to drive profitable mix really is a big deal to their business and has a huge outcome. So how do we tie pricing to really leverage those capacity constraints and generate the most profit dollars per time? And that's what we call capacity utilization, or another way to say it is throughput. So for example, if you have a machine that can only produce so many widgets per hour, what we're helping them do is understand not just is their margin per unit or margin percent strong or profitable, but is their margin per machine hour, if that's the constraint. These two margins were equivalent on a per unit basis, but if you take into account time and the constraint, this product might be much more profitable for me. And therefore, I want to defend and grow that part of the business more so than other parts of the business. So you want to use capacity utilization or throughput when you're setting your price targets and setting the direction of the company where to go grow business. Most companies get caught up in trying to understand their full cost structure and variable costs exactly. And we found is that's not really what matters. What matters is understanding your constraint, in this case time of a machine or number of trucks you have to deliver your product, and really looking to optimize that variable and then incorporating that into the pricing tools. And yes, then using algorithms to allocate that and develop patterns of how you're driving profitability based on utilization, or we also call it throughput. So one of our clients is making paperboard, or we call it cardboard, they call it corrugated, right? And so what happens is what we found was that the machine could run at 500 feet per minute. But the thicker material, when we take that into account, actually was producing more material than the thinner material. And because the machine had a capacity constraint of 500 feet per minute, what we could do is we could produce more pounds of cardboard in a given hour. And we found was that the thicker material was much more profitable than the thinner material when you actually look at a per hour basis rather than a per unit basis. And therefore, our goal is to help them determine the price points and the strategy to increase market share in the thicker material, defend the smaller material, but really drive growth on the thicker so they don't absorb their capacity with the thinner materials. And what the results were is their overall margins increased by producing the same amount of product, but just focusing their mix on the thicker material versus the thinner. In the service business, typically, let's say professional services, there are certain resources, maybe the partner or managing the leaders of the offices or businesses, that their time is very constrained. And what you have is then you have support roles underneath them. And we find is that if you just measure profitability per hour, then you'll see that the top partner is making the most per hour and they think, hey, I want to leverage them the most. But we help professional services companies do is realize that the total profit from the client's what's important. And we might be able to lower the number of hours that the partner or leader is spending on the engagement and leverage people in the organization more to drive more overall profit dollars, because we're debottling the capacity issue at the top and we're leveraging the organization more and we're helping them see the financial impact of that deleverage model and set goals and targets at a senior level. What we like to do when we talk about capacity utilization is keep it simple. So the goal is to make sure that the sales team or whoever's selling in the organization knows, don't get overly complicated with the analysis. Don't let the financial team make this a very detailed process. We just want to directionally drive the right mix in the business.